Which country are you from, and how long have you been working in Japan?
So I'm from Zurich, Switzerland, and I have been working in Japan for about a year now.
I'm from Kazakhstan and I've been living in Japan for 11 years and working for 9 years.
I'm from India and I've been working here for around 1.5 years.
I'm originally from Vietnam, but I've been in Japan for 6 years for school, and now I'm here working.
I've been in Japan for 26 years, and I'm from the US originally.
I'm from Indonesia and it's almost 1 year, maybe around 10 months.
I'm originally from Colombia, born and raised there, and also Spanish. In September this year, it's going to be 5 years here in Tokyo.
What's your current job here in Japan?
I'm currently a UX UI designer at a major IT company in Tokyo.
How much do you currently make?
I would say with bonus, probably around 5.5 million.
I work as a technical program manager and make between 50 and 100K US.
I'm actually a localizer, which is pretty much a translator.
And how much do you make per month?
About 300,000 before taxes.
I work here as a software engineer. Per month, it can range from 300K to 420K.
Now I work at university, so I'm a professor at like a small 4-year liberal arts college. How much do I make currently? From that one job, probably like 6 million a year.
I'm a program manager at IT company. It's something about from 9 to 10 million per year.
Currently, I'm an assistant language teacher at a high school.
Okay. And how much do you currently make?
Right now, about 320,000 per month.
I work for an American tech company and I had customer success for them in all of Japan. I think I have been very lucky in terms of the opportunities that Japan has provided me. And if I were to give a range, and it depends because we have stocks and whatnot, I would say somewhere between 20 million yen to 40 million yen.
I work in sales, international sales school in Japanese language school. I make 3 million yens a year. It's roughly 25 a month.
I'm as a nursing care per month. Maybe it's around 200,000.
Do you think you would earn more or less in the same position in your home country compared to your job in Japan?
Maybe my country is a little bit less the salary, so that's why I choose the working in Japan.
I think I would earn considerably less if I were to be in India right now.
I think I'll earn a little bit more because it requires more specialization, so definitely much more like 3,000 or so.
And why is that?
Because you have to get certified to be any type of teacher in the United States versus Japan. You just need a degree and speak the language and you're pretty much in.
I was working in Spain and I was making less, to be honest. And I have my law degree and my master's degree and I was doing... I'm sorry. Yeah, I was not doing good. Honestly, I think here I have more chances to grow professionally until certain level. That's good about Japan, that they do value the experiences, and it's not like in Spain right now they're asking you to have masters, 5 years of experience and be under 25. So that's kind of impossible to achieve.
I've actually looked it up. I would actually make about at least double if I did the same exact job back in California. Just discussion of wages is a lot more available back in the US, where in Japan you can't really complain about your own wage as much. And this is a collective thing, not just an individual thing. And so like as a culture in Japan, you can't really complain too much about your own position because you're disposable, a lot more disposable.
A lot more, yeah. It's I think that just the way it works in the San Francisco Bay Area is, tech is really the big industry there. And they need to be competitive because there's people coming from all over the world going to so many different companies. There's Google, Facebook. You definitely take a big sacrifice in the pay and the benefits. For example, in the US and the Silicon Valley, it's pretty common to have a tech job where you get unlimited paid time off. But in Japan, it's one of those things where you're probably going to give that up. And in my case, I went from unlimited paid time off to 10 days off a year. So that's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. But again, thank God you at least get to live in Japan, because I think that's worth more than all of those benefits or the higher pay.
Can you please elaborate why you think it's worth it?
Yes, it's worth it because Japan is just an incredible place. People here are just so nice. I think just the generosity is what brought me to Japan in the first place.
Do you feel like your current salary is enough to cover your living expenses?
I would say for the most part, because in addition to my base salary, the company does offer benefits such as commuting fee, even paying for my meal sometimes, and there's a lot of perks that goes on top of the salary.
Just barely. Unfortunately, those of us United States immigrants, people from the United States, we also brought our student loans as well as credit card debt. So with the current exchange rates as well, we're putting ourselves in a very rough position. If I had none of that and I was just a Japanese person living here, I could just barely make it by living. However, I'm putting myself in a very bad position financially. I live paycheck to paycheck, and I have to cut corners. It's not very easy, yeah.
I can cover all my living expenses very well, and I even have some left for fun on weekends. So I live in Minami Kasai, which is in Edogawa-ku, which is sort of a cheaper neighborhood in Tokyo. So around 1/3 of my salary goes to the rent. After that, I'd say 1/4 of it goes to like groceries, bills and things like that. And the other part that's left, I sent some back to India as well, so to my parents, and the others just left for having fun around.
I'm about to start my own business here in Japan, in Tokyo. Last year when I came here, I didn't make any money at all because I figured in Japan it's all about relationship building and trust building, and that takes time.
Do you ever struggle financially with what you're making right now?
Right now it's okay, but last year was really bad because I came with my earnings, and if you come here by yourself and you don't have any clients, you don't have an employer who you don't have that stability, it can get really, really hard.
After all, Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities in Asia. So could you give us some examples of which aspects make it expensive to live here?
Absolutely. I think first of all, especially, and this would depend on person to person, but being in central Tokyo, the rents can be considerably high. I wouldn't say compared to New York or London or Sydney, because comparatively Tokyo might just be cheaper, but for someone who's making Japanese wages, being in central Tokyo can be considerably expensive.
If you live like in the center of Tokyo, then it's going to be really, really expensive, like maybe over $1,000 per month. And plus, if you decide to relocate, you need to pay like a deposit and like, thanks fee. It's like you're paying additional fee to the owner saying that thank you for letting me live in your apartment.
Hands down, the most shockingly expensive thing would be when you first move into your apartment in Japan. For example, in the U.S., you might have to give a 1 to 2 month deposit is what I'm used to, at least in the San Francisco Bay Area. I remember paying, this is shocking, but I think for the first month, $6,000, which I don't know how many people can possibly have $6,000 just lying around in a shoebox. And this was definitely a source of stress when I first moved in. Produce, fruits and vegetables, they can be unbelievably expensive. Like when you see, for example, grapes for $15, it's just like, oh my God. Because in Brazil and in California, these are things that are just dirt cheap.
Grocery shopping. Vegetables and fruits are not cheap here. So you get used to eat bananas all the time, but yeah, it's not like in Spain that you can afford eating avocados every morning.
And is there anything that is surprisingly cheap compared to back home or less than you expected?
Eating outside.
I tend to kind of disagree with that, actually, that Japan is so expensive. Like, in my experience, if you know where to go, you don't just go to the regular tourist places. Like, you can live quite cheaply. I mean, you can get a nice lunch or dinner for 800 yen. I feel like when I go back to the United States now that everything is super expensive, you go out to dinner, you spend like $25, $30 plus tip, but Japan, you don't have that, and if you know the right places to go, I don't think it's that expensive.
What do you think is kind of the amount of money that you would need to make to live worry-free in Japan?
I think a monthly income of like around 300,000, so like what, $2,000 a month. You can, if you don't live in like the center of Tokyo, if you live a little bit out, you don't live super close to a station. I think there are ways to get around like this idea that Japan is expensive if you choose the right place to live.
It depends on everyone's lifestyle, I would say, but if you live in central Tokyo, I think any amount between 8 to 12 million yen could be a comfortable amount for one to be here.
And is it possible for foreigners to make this much in Japan?
So the average income that a foreign worker in Japan makes is only 3 million yen, but that includes all types of foreigners across the entire range of industries. If you're in a more corporate side and you're hopefully bilingual, you can make that amount with a few years of experience.
Probably 350,000 a month. I would say would be like very baseline, and then you can probably make ends meet comfortably.
Do you think it's possible to earn this much as a foreigner in Japan?
It's possible, and I've seen it happen, but it's extremely difficult. I would say I've only really met one person that has met that criteria, and they make way more. And then, of course, it's a very special situation. Japanese companies might not be as capable of providing you with a higher wage, as well as respect your skills as well, because Japanese corporations are more loyalty based. So it's very based on how long you've been living, not necessarily on what you're bringing to the table and the results you're bringing. So I would say the biggest one is working for a foreign company that's in Japan.
I have friends, they have like 2.5 million average. They're okay with that. They don't have a big apartment, they have a 1K, they have a minimalist life, they're happy, super happy. I have friends, they make 15 million and they want more, they're not happy. It really depends on your personality. But I think as a foreigner in Tokyo especially, if you're in your 30s, on average, you should make 6 million.
And what professions do you think pay the highest salaries for foreigners in Japan?
Engineering for sure. For sure, 100%. I have a friend that make at least 3 times more than I do, because he have told me. And I know I have another friend that she'll also do at least twice as I do, both engineering.
I think IT engineers, like programming skills, everyone who can, who have this, knowledge in data management, analysis. They also have this system that invites foreigners working for these IT industries that have these kind of skills. They need those foreigners with those skills. So if you have the skills, there is a big opportunity for you to get a good chance in Japan.
Oh, for sure, IT and university teaching.
On the other hand, what are some of the professions that offer the lowest wages for foreigners in Japan?
Ironically, my position, ALTs, assistant language teachers.
As my friend said, that my job is the lowest in Japan, because not really Japanese people want to be working as a nursing care, and also as like the children care too, it's the lowest. So maybe this is not really interesting with the for Japanese people. So that's why the salary is the lowest, I thought.
So I've seen a lot of foreigners working in konbinis as a part-time. I actually met one foreigner who was working in an Indian store, and they said it's working in a store. They pay very less, and the hours are more. So yeah, I think working at stores, konbinis, that's kind of the range.
How important is it to speak Japanese if you want to work in Japan?
Oh my gosh, I can't stress how important it is. Definitely if you have the Japanese ability, I think your opportunities are gonna like double or triple, and you will have options to choose from.
Having been here for more than a decade now, I've started seeing a change in the trend. If you're in the tech space, I think a lot of companies are now letting go of the requirement of you knowing Japanese, and they're more willing to teach you the language as you come and start working for them. However, if you're not an engineer, if you're not just behind a computer coding all day, I think it is absolutely essential to know the language, else it's very difficult to make a career here.
Depending what you do, it can be either, make or break, or just has no effect whatsoever. Like for my position, I don't need to speak any Japanese whatsoever, but depending on the company, if you want to be like a Seishayan or something, you have to know obviously like N2, N1. So it depends what field you go into.
Do you feel like you have many opportunities for promotions and raises as a foreigner working in Japan?
Me, particularly, no. I think I'm just stuck where I'm at right now, and yeah, I'm pretty stuck.
Do you think that there's some sort of natural glass ceiling that's difficult to break as a foreigner working here?
I think so, yeah. So especially in my role, it's pretty much, yeah, once you hit like a certain place, there's really no bonuses, no opportunities for raises. It's just you're constantly doing the same thing every day, every year, until you either choose to leave that field or until you choose to kind of speak up about wanting to do something else. So, yeah.
I'm still pretty new at my current company. I've only been there, well, not that new, I guess 8-9 months or so. But they do have a twice a year review policy where they will review your performance, and there's opportunities to get bumps in pay and to be promoted. And they definitely do try to show you what your career track is looking like. Now, with that being said, I want to say I have not been promoted yet, so I'm disgusted. But hopefully soon that will happen, yeah.
In my previous company, I also have seen foreigners working as like managers or maybe country managers. To be promoted, you need to like pass some tests. You may pass the test if it's in your own language, but it's in Japanese, so you may face the problem that you just don't get what you are being asked for. So yes, you will have the chances to be promoted, but you will need to, go through the steps of the promotion just the same as Japanese employees do.
I think there is a natural glass ceiling for sure. Like I think there is so much growth you can have within a Japanese company, but I don't think you're gonna ever get to, I'm gonna be the president of NYC company. Like if you want to be the president of NYC, you will have to create it yourself. But then you can reach like manager levels. You can you can have a team on your own. Even though if you're Japanese, my boss is Chinese. So, but her boss is Japanese.
So how long do you plan on working here? And do you have any plans to moving back to your home country to continue your work there?
I'm pretty sure I will stay until I retire. I don't really want to go back to the U.S. I don't really want to live in the U.S. again. I would consider living in another country, like maybe in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, or something like that. But I feel like going back to America, I would just be reverse culture shocked. And it would take me years to kind of get used to living in the States again. So I'm pretty comfortable here now.
If I want to start a family, I might not want to start a family here because I probably won't be able to financially support a family at the very moment. The government actually announced that we are in the middle of a recession here in Japan, and that of course brings the morale for all of us in Japan. And with us who have citizenship in other countries and have a home and back home, that can really highly motivate us to just fall back and fall back to where we're more comfortable and safe at.
How long do you plan on working here?
Forever. I love it. Like Japan, I don't know what my wife will say about this, but Japan is, I have two loves of my life. I have Japan and I have my wife. And Japan is a miracle of a place. No matter how difficult the day is, you can't be mad in the end. You can't be that mad because it's like, Mike, did you just wake up this morning and find yourself in Japan? Are you not living in the place of your dreams? The answer is yes. So it's just such a special place. I am definitely also interested in the possibility of doing different things here. Not necessarily always working in tech, but being able to fulfill dreams that are outside of that, like being able to be an entrepreneur in some way. And it's kind of fun to just be a foreigner making your way in a crazy new world. Everything is new, everything is difficult, but it's very inspiring, starting from nothing and building up. And it makes you feel like you're living the hero's tale.
Do you see yourself ever going back home, and why or why not?
Absolutely not. I beg my wife all the time, baby, please don't make me move back. In the US, the thing is, I'm 41. I'm frickin' 41. And I lived an entire life in the US, and it was awesome. It was awesome. The US made me who I am. I will never turn my nose up at it. I think it's an amazing country, and I love it. I'm so grateful. That said, I lived a full life there, and I feel like my watch has ended.
I actually just got my Japanese citizenship. So as of now, I'm a Japanese citizen. And for me, Japan's home. I don't see myself leaving Japan anytime in the near future. However, I think I'm open to exploring different work styles, different cultures, if an opportunity were to ever present itself.
And why or why not would you choose to stay here versus elsewhere?
I always say this. I think during work hours, Japan is not a good place to be in, from my perspective. But outside work hours, Japan is probably the best country you can be in. And it all comes down to the difference that these two 8-hour cycles make, and which one do you want to prioritize more? Do you want a fun work culture, but in a country where you might fear on who's going to stab you, who's going to shoot you, versus being in a place where you might not be as happy working from 9 to 5, but once you're out of the workplace, it's one of the best societies to be in. It's that decision that I think everyone needs to make for themselves.
So some of our viewers would like to work in Japan in the future. So what advice or suggestions can you tell them before coming to work here?
Okay, because Japanese language is very difficult, I hope you guys to preparing yourself to increase your language skill. So that's why is every day you have to practice the conversation and building the conversation. So I thought it's very important to working here.
Do your research, please, because as many YouTube videos you might watch or stories you might hear from others, it's always going to differ from the reality. So do your research, ask questions. Don't just watch a video and say, oh, this is my experience. This will be my experience. Just do your research and don't come in with rose-colored glasses. Please don't.
If your cost of living is lower than Japan's, then I would recommend it. However, if you're from a place that has a higher cost of living, for example, Australia or the United States, I would highly recommend to not come to Japan to make money. I would highly recommend to come here for other reasons, as in gain experience, have a gap year, or to have a more fun life. But if you're here to make more money, I would highly not recommend it.
One thing important to know is being here as a tourist is different than being here as a student, is different than being here as a worker. I wouldn't recommend coming here as an English teacher only to be in Japan. I've had friends who came here as English teachers, they didn't like it. They kind of destroyed their own image of Japan.
First, learn about the culture, because I've met a lot of people who didn't settle in with the culture and the food itself, and they had to move back. I know one person who did that. But definitely learn more about the culture, how it could be lonely sometimes, because it's very hard connecting to Japanese people.
Come to Japan as many times as you can and make friends. You can just go into a bar, sit by yourself, and probably Japanese people in Tokyo, for example, will come up and just talk to you. And these are not just going to be meaningless conversations that amount to nothing. I have made some very dear friends that are coming to our wedding, who I consider my brothers, doing this. I went to a sake bar once. And I was the only gaijin in there. It was many years ago. And people just came up to me and they're like, what is this gaijin doing in here by himself? This is a very Japanese place. And they were just fascinated and they wanted to practice English. And it's if you're willing to just be brave and go out there, it's scary to leave the comfort of a gaijin neighborhood sometimes. It's scary to open up an izakaya door and see only Japanese people, but your bravery will be rewarded. Having friends, having loved ones here, it's going to make all the difference. So really, be brave, come to Japan in advance, make friends, go into the izakayas by yourself, get out of Roppongi, get out of Shibuya, which is where we're at right now. Be brave and go into these places where you can have special moments with Japanese people and make friends. That's what I would say.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your insights, and that's going to be it for today.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Awesome.